welcome back to Black and Blue Garage. This is day 2 of getting this Jeep ready for Utah or whatever trails I want to drive around, working toward getting to a shakedown run with my buddies here locally, and eventually up to Moab to do some trails and other things. So what I've got going on right now is I started making transmission coolant lines to go from my transfer case back to my radiator back here. They're halfway done, and then I needed a way to fasten them to the floor of the bottom of the cab, and my transfer case was in the way. And since I need to take the transfer case out already in order to, get a couple things done with the yokes and fix a couple of leaks that I had, I took that off and got distracted with all this stuff. But now I'm back on track. I'm going to get these lines fixed up so that I can get that, and then in a moment I'll meet back with you to work on this transfer case. Okay, that's 1 1/8" socket. I did buy 2 CV style yokes, one for the axle on the front, which I forgot what spline that is, but one for the transfer case, which I believe is 32 spline, and that should slip on right over where that one was. And I'm hoping this is the right diameter outside to seal. If not, I'm gonna have to order a different seal. It appears there's some kind of rubber seal. We'll just go ahead and leave that on. It does fit, and it is the correct seal. So that is actually great news. I have a Tom Woods rear drive shaft, a Tom Woods SYE shaft and flange on the back of this transfer case, a Tom Woods yoke on the front of the transfer case. I'm going to be ordering a Tom Woods drive shaft for the front of this Jeep, and then that's connected to a Tom Woods front yoke. So if you need anything driveline specific, hit up Tom Woods on the website, and they usually have everything. And if they don't, or if you need something special made, give them a call and they could probably work something out for you. Now I'm going to see if I can swap out the axle yoke really quick. Now I can't. There we go. Both yokes installed. Aside from having to go to my service truck and getting the correct socket, this only took probably 1.5 minutes, so pretty easy swap. I should have bought new nuts to hold those on, but this will do probably just fine for me. I'm gonna reuse this gasket to put it on. It was new when I put it on. I'm just gonna have to, I'll add a little bit of gasket maker this time, and hopefully that'll seal everything up. It was also leaking out the end of the shaft, which was funny because it looked like it was leaking out of the U-joints, but really I had just forgotten to put RTV on the splines of the shaft and the yoke to put together. It just kind of leaked through the splines. So bolts will do that too. If you don't put Loctite on certain bolts that go into an oil cavity, the oil will work its way through the threads and leak out the head of the bolt. It's very common. So I've got RTV on this side. This side has a rubber seal. The front axle yoke, not really worried about. Oil's never going to get that far, and if it does, I'll just pull it back out, put some RTV on it. Now I am going to have to take the camera off here so that I can show you guys how I'm measuring for drive shaft. So I need a tape measure. It was bright out. So basically, the point-to-point measurement for this needs to be from the inside of this, the flat part of this flange, and the flat part of the other flange, and the flat part of this yoke. Then you just send that measurement to Tom Woodser or input it into their website, and they'll build you and send you a really heavy-duty drive shaft in about 2 weeks, for me anyway. All right, it's time to put the transfer case back on. This time, I'm going to use gasket maker and hope for the best. Be fun to clean this off next time I change the transmission. You mumbled something about going back.
In the house.
Oh, okay. You can't leave. I just bought ice cream. Alright. I like that. It turned out good. It's a blue gasket maker. That's my favorite color. Makes me wish I had a lift I could use to stand underneath the vehicle, but I don't. All right. Transfer case is on. I also modified the transmission shifter cable because it was for sure gonna be in the way of the drive shaft when I order it. It might still be, and I might have to move it out of the way a little bit more. But other than that, everything went back together pretty good. I don't see any leaks yet, but then again, I haven't driven it. So with that problem done, that's one thing off my list. Now, I think next I'm going to pull this Jeep out of the garage, flip it around so that I can dump all the water out of it, and that'll be the last time I drive it this month, because I'll have to go get some distilled water. I was down at the grocery store and I completely forgot, so I need to buy like 4 or 5 gallons of that, because I have some orange GM coolant to go in this thing. But right now I'm going to add the little bleeders for the front so that when I run it again, I don't have issues with air locking like I had before. I am currently preparing to flush this coolant system. I've got the thermostat out. I'm going to disconnect another hose, so I've got water coming into the engine from the radiator that's being filled with a hose, and then the exit for the water back there somewhere probably is just going to flow water out, and we're just going to continually cycle cold water through the engine. And then later I'll get some distilled water and we'll come back, we'll fill it back up. So I need to figure out a way to get route water, because I don't necessarily want it to be just shooting off into the bed. I think I can find a piece of tubing that's perfect to go right there. Alright, check this out. kind of funny actually. You've got your water that's supposed to be returning to the radiator. Instead, I've got it put into this chain link fence post, and that's heading out the back of the truck. So all the water that I put in this engine should cycle through and exit out the back. Before I do this, before I start, flushing out the system, there's a couple of valves that I want to put in right here for when I go fill this back up. I could just open those valves up and let all the air out from these tubes, because the tubes go down the bed of the cab, the bottom of the cab, and they come back up and they go back down again before it goes in the engine. And that means that air gets trapped right there, because the air will get in there, the water pump, and it won't be able to cause a suction and cycle the water through. Here's those valves that I was talking about. It's for, and I'm not sure where, but it's for a Bobcat, and it's got that screw on top. You see these a lot on pool filters too, the sand style pool filters. So I've got to pass through, and then I've got this deal I'll put on, and that should be able to let the air out of the tops of each of these tubes here. And that leaves me with just enough room to put this sucker in there. And actually, we don't have to cut this down at all, because now it's the perfect size. And what would be cool is if I could slide this silicone down a little bit so that the other end can clamp onto this. That would be just perfect. This is working. I was able to push this out. Sheesh, that hurts really bad. Trim this up just a wee bit. Ouch. Okay. So I actually sprained my ankle quite a bit, and it's been less since I got an ankle brace, but I haven't been wearing it in the shop, and I think I need to start wearing it in the shop. But in about 2009, I sprained my ankle while running at Fort Hood in the Army, and ever since then I've pretty much sprained it like every other month to twice a month. And recently went and got x-rays on it, which is just last year, and found out that I have arthritis in at least my left ankle, probably both of them though. But yeah, short story, I screwed up my feet, my ankles, and my knees, all because of that, and makes it a little difficult to walk around. But just got to be careful, think safety, and don't overdo it when you're going and running 5 miles on pavement and sidewalks and stuff like that. Especially if you're a bigger dude like me, that hurts. I also got to top off the transmission fluid since we finished the those transmission lines. I saw somebody else have gas shocks on their hood. That would make things a lot easier. I think they go just right here. That and those bleeping Jeep buttons for the top of the hood hold the hood down. Sorry, nice and tight. Nice and tight. I need to fill this with water first, so I'm gonna get the hose and start filling this thing up. I'll top this off once I get water in here. This is just 1/8 inch pipe thread on here that I put some Teflon tape on. So this whole valve, this is just like a needle valve got seats in the bottom, which is pretty neat. It's got a little seal right there. We can shut this now. Okay. System is flushed out, filled with coolant. So the coolant system is done, aside from, like, you know, insulating a couple more parts of the tube. I'm getting a squeal from the belt tensioner pulley, and also the fuel pump is making noise. So I'm gonna try to look for like a better fuel pump. And that doesn't have a whole lot of hours on it. And then also I need to figure out how to get that stopped squeaking, because this is the second one I've had. Maybe it's the actual tensioner and not the pulley. Anyways, that's day 2 of working in the shop. Can't see me. Anyways, that's day 2 of working in the shop. And I'll see you next week. It's 100% not perfect.